the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Georgia Bulldog analyst and superfan Matt Green. How big is it for Georgia to get Carson Beck back next year?
I saw in one of your social media posts, you tagged me as a super fan, and I don't know. I feel like that, it doesn't do me justice on my credibility. They'd be like, "Oh, this guy's just super fan." I can't. Got to take it with a grain of salt. No. But Carson Beck coming back, I think that's massive news for Georgia. I think we don't know Quinn Ewers is back. He said he's coming back, but you talk about the contenders coming into 2024. Like, Georgia's going to have as good of quarterback as anyone in college football. Like, this guy's a potential number one pick in the 2025 NFL draft. So, yeah, I think it's massive. A second year starting, like you're seeing Georgia making some moves in the portal to get even better playmakers. Obviously, they're not going to have a Brock Bowers on the team next year. So it's hard to say their playmakers will be as good without a three-time All-American. But, I think with Carson Beck back, that has to just be one less thing to worry about, that you feel like Georgia's floor is going to be very, very high when you're not really worried about the quarterback position.
Right. I think it's interesting because it feels like one of the funny things I saw from Georgia fans I was kind of surprised was, like, this shows that this makes their title run easier. Like, would you have been concerned that they couldn't win the title with Gunnar Stockton going in next year, or do you think they would have gone with the portal? What do you think they would have done, and what would you have preferred they have done if Carson Beck left?
I think they would definitely have gone to the portal if Beck was gone. I don't know. Supposedly that's one of the reasons Raiola looked elsewhere. I think that was discussed, that if Beck goes, that Georgia probably would look to the portal. Who knows what's true and what's not, but I think, yeah, absolutely. Like, Gunnar Stockton's completely unproven. Like, this guy is a big time prospect, but not even like, it's not like he was a can't miss 5-star prospect or something. Like, I think he's big time and he wants to go to Georgia. And so that right there says something about him not being afraid of the competition and that sort of thing in the crowded QB room. But yeah, there was a lot of question losing Stetson Bennett and having a guy like Carson Beck as a first-time starter that had been in the system for a while. It's like doing that again, and we've seen even less of Gunnar Stockton than we've seen of Carson Beck. It's like he's going from third string to first string at that point. Like, at least Beck got all the backup duty in 2022. Like, Vandergriff was getting all the backup duty in 2023. So, yeah, I think without a doubt their championship. Their realistic chances of a championship are significantly higher with Beck coming back.
And look, I think
Georgia fans are still scarred from Jamie Newman going to the portal to try to get a stopgap at the quarterback position.
Yeah. Are we assuming they're better next year? Do you think, based on this class and what's coming back and with all the portal departures, do you think Georgia will be better than the Georgia we saw this year?
It's hard to say because Brock Bowers is definitely the best player on the team. So he's just a tight end. He's probably not as important as the quarterback, but he's just a difference maker. So you look at the skill players Georgia's going to have. I feel like those probably won't be significantly worse. Like the running back, the two, Kendall Milton's gone. So I think Edwards might be gone too. So like the running back, it wasn't a great year at the position, so that could be just as good, if not better. But I think you look at the defense, there's a lot of youth on the defensive side. Jamon Dumas-Johnson going to Kentucky, like that was one that kind of was like a head scratcher for a lot of people. But I think you saw, for one, he didn't have a great season probably the first half of the year, and then he got hurt. And so you already saw CJ Allen kind of taking some of his snaps when he was actually healthy. And then once he got hurt, CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson both played a lot. So I think there was a chance that Jamon Dumas-Johnson's snaps were just going to go down next year, and Georgia was probably going to sub a lot, and he wants to go somewhere and be the number one guy, and he's at Kentucky now. So I think there's a very good chance that Georgia is just as good as they were in 2023, if not better. So, Javon Bullard is still a guy who could potentially come back for his senior year. I think Kamari, no Georgia players have declared to this point. I think Kamari Lassiter is probably a candidate to go pro, but this defense doesn't have a lot of just like superstars that are leaving for the draft or anything. You could get a lot of these guys back next year, and they could just be that much better. So I know Van Pran and probably Amarius Mims is probably gone on the offensive line, but yeah, I mean, you look at 2023 with how this team was built. It's like, I mean, you could argue right now that Georgia is still the best team in the country. Like if you put them on a neutral field with anybody, they may be favored over every single team in college football. Alabama beat them, so they're not playing for the playoff. But the way this team was constructed was perfectly capable of winning a championship. So they could be just like they could be just like they were in 2023 and 2024 and be capable of winning a championship again.
We shall see. That's why they play the games, Matt Green.
Absolutely. And the schedule is obviously the wild card there too. Like they only have 3 home games in the SEC, Clemson out of conference, Texas and Alabama on the road. So the schedule is no joke. There's going to be no but about what Georgia's doing on the field next year. If they start.
Go. Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.